Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sessions Cafe. I'm your host, Keri D. Singleton, and today we welcome Harold A. Dowd to the show. It is an honor to have you in that seat, brother. Welcome to Sessions Cafe.
Thank you much. Thank you for inviting me.
We had a lot to talk about. You are from Queens.
Jamaica,
Queens. And there's so much rich history with Queens, specifically with the neighborhood of Jamaica.
Jamaica, St. Albans.
Yeah, all the southeastern Queens.
Yes.
Yeah. How did growing up in that part of New York City contribute to your success that we'll talk about in entertainment and club promotions?
Well, my father passed away a year before we went to college.
Mm-hmm.
We were going down to Howard University.
You say we, you're referring
my
to
brother,
you and your twin
yeah.
brother. Yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
I say we,
Yes.
I speak for him.
Mm-hmm.
And once he passed away, we decided to stay in New York because we didn't want to leave my mother by herself because she had lost a mother and her husband. So, and we had a nice sized big corner house. And so we decided to stay. And then we went to St. John's University. And there we were able to connect with about 69 black students that came in the same class that we did because they didn't have any, or they had very few black students on campus.
At that time.
At that time. This is 1969.
Right. Okay.
Well, and with that, that was our whole socialization. That's how we learned to get along because we always went to white schools, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we didn't socialize with them. And but at St. John's, we created this friendship with all the brothers and sisters there, and that we were accepted as twins and personality. My brother had all the personality. I always tell people I was the background singer.
He was the background singer.
He was the personality of the group, and which is always good in a group that you have a person that stands out.
Correct.
And he was the standout. I took care of business and did the creative work for the organization.
So let me ask you this: being a twin, I've always thought it fascinating the experiences that twins have. I'm not a twin, but what were some of when you and your brother were growing up? Did you dress the same? Did you date the same girls? Did you do all the twin stuff?
No. We didn't do a lot of the twin stuff because we were very individualized.
Okay.
You know, we were raised that way.
Okay.
And we would meet other twins that would wear the same outfits or different color outfits. And we were like, no. You know, become an individual.
Right. Yeah.
And
it's bad enough you got to share your birthday.
You know, my brother was clean shaven. I had always had hair on my face. So it was Harold and hair, Norman no hair.
Okay.
So
okay.
But people don't think when they see us, they think it's the person that they last spoke to.
Right.
And you know, it can be a problem.
As identical twins, when you and your brother Norman were growing up, did you think that you looked alike?
No.
No.
Absolutely
so you looked
not.
You're identical twins,
Yes,
right?
we are.
You looked in the mirror and you saw
I definitely didn't look like Norman.
Really? Okay.
You know. And he'll say the same thing about I don't look like Harold. You know?
But other people clearly had a different opinion.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Did your parents ever get you confused?
Of course.
Okay.
You know, we could fool our parents.
Wow.
And teachers and girlfriends especially.
Oh, wow.
I had this one situation when we were at Manhattan, when we created Manhattan Proper, as the young people called it, the Proper Café. His girlfriend had some of her friends come by before we opened up. I came in the room before my brother, and she thought I was Norman. So she comes over, you know, just trying to be cute in front of her friends. Oh, Harold, Norman, hi. And as soon as she said Norman, I said, and this is the type of woman that said, I know my Norman.
Oh,
you know.
well, guess not.
And she came in and kissed me, and I kissed her back. And I walked away, and I could see Norman coming in from the back of the restaurant. And I said, I'm going to get close to the front door.
Right.
Because this is not going to end well.
Not going to end well. So you and your brother were event specialists at St. John's University in the 70s. Now, how did you grow into that role?
We used to work at the Student Union building.
Okay.
And then we became very social with like I said, with the people of color that were there. And then the big thing was when the white kids had a Monday holiday, the black kids had no place to go. The white kids might go to Disney World with their family and stuff. Black kids had no place to go.
Right.
So we decided to give a party on a Sunday night, but they had the day off the next day.
Right.
And that turned into be a monster event.
Wow.
And then we were known for those type of events. Every holiday we had to give an event. But what we did was, instead of doing it in Queens, we took it to Manhattan. And we took it to Pippin's and to some of the smaller clubs. But we blew those clubs out so quick because it became a thing.
Wow.
They knew, oh, the Twins are doing something. And it was all about, they didn't even call us the Dow Twins. They just called the Twins. Twins are doing something because, unfortunately, today you can be very casual.
Right.
That's why I'm casual today with you.
Right.
Because I saw your show and I said, okay, I'm not going to overdress for this. But back in our day, you had to, you had to wear a sports jacket.
Yes.
And why you had to wear a sports jacket is because the women came in looking good.
Exactly.
And, you didn't want to disappoint them. So we made a rule. Gentlemen had to wear jackets, had to have shoes on, all that stuff. And the women loved it.
I used to think that those stipulations, well, I'm from Boston, so I don't know if it was a different situation there. I used to think that those stipulations were to change the mentality of the patrons.
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Right.
We had no fights.
Right.
We
Who's
had
gonna
no
fight
fights.
with a blazer on.
Right. Nobody's going to mess up their clothes.
Right. Right.
You step on a brother's toe, he's going to say, excuse me.
Right.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
He's not going to throw hands at that point. So that, and plus it put a certain caliber of person in the club.
Exactly.
Because you weren't going to be embarrassed.
Right.
And we didn't allow hats. No hats, But that was then, this is now.
Yeah.
Everybody's soft shoes, soft clothing, hats. But that's just the way it is. Back in the early 70s and 80s, you went to Justine's or Leviticus. Those were show clubs.
Now let's talk about Othello's and Leviticus. Those are two night spots that you and your brother Norman made legendary. What made your venues stand out? Again, we're talking about club promotion in the 1970s, 80s in New York City. You always had competition. So how were you able to get your parties to...
We were creative.
How?
We would come up with ideas. We would have airline parties where the flight attendants and stuff would be. We would have waistline parties. We would have also. We created the masquerade events, and that was purely masquerade, not a costume party. And so you could do it any time of the year that you wanted to do, but you just had to. And folks would go to work with a black outfit on that Friday night. And leave work, come there, bring their mask with them, and they can actually mask themselves, and people might not know who you are until 9 o'clock when we unmask, when people unmask. So if you wanted to be just very discreet, you can hang out till 8:45 and nobody would know who you were.
So you had concept parties.
Yes.
Which made it more interesting.
And that's you have to entertain your folks, and you have to bring them good ideas.
Now, one of the things that I respect, and there are many, about the legacy that you and your brother Norman solidified was philanthropy. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the ways that you gave back to various organizations.
Well, the first thing we did, with our parents, they taught us that. And we were lucky enough to be making nice money. So we always decided at that point we would have a scholarship fund under my father, who passed away a year before we went to college. And then my brother, we had a foundation for him.
Later on when he
when he passed. But what we would do is we would have a scholarship for students, high school students that go into college, and we would give them $2,500 every year, and we could pick out 6 students. And unfortunately, back then, it was mostly women, because the women had the great grades and everything else. I would
a lot more scholastic than the fellas.
Yes, more so, yes, absolutely. But then we decided to give back to, like, the Jackie Robinson Foundation, to Dave Winfield Foundation. that a lot of organizations came at us and asked us if we would do events for them.
Wow.
And that's what we did. We took, like the Jackie Robinson, they had an annual picnic up in Cranberry Park, Connecticut. And when we started out with them, they were doing about 2,500 people at this park, but it was a huge park.
Right.
And Mrs. Robinson wanted to do straight ahead jazz, but we said straight ahead jazz is not going to increase your numbers. You have to open it up and have a better genre of music. And so at that point, we opened it up. And by 12 years later, we had 8,000 people coming out there. And it was fabulous. It was the place to be.
Now, you named the Reginald Endow Memorial Scholarship after your late father. What are some of the stipulations or the criteria that people had to meet to get that particular to be considered?
High school graduating senior. They had to have a certain, certain marks, certain community activities.
Okay.
And at that point, we put it into a hopper and see who would come up out of those. We would normally do about 6 scholarships a year.
Wow.
It ended up coming back down to about 2 or 3. But they were so appreciative, the parents, because we never realized how important that was.
Right.
I had one lady, every time she came to the event, she would be thanking me. I'm like almost embarrassing to say, thank you. We didn't think about the books. We didn't think about how much a book course was going to be.
Right.
And it made us feel good, as well as we had the money to do it. Right. We didn't go through a foundation or anything. I mean, legally, we gave them the cash and just made sure that the cash went to the Birdsall's office, so that no matter what you did, it didn't go to you personally. It went to the school's
office, directly. So that it was, you made sure that it was the money was utilized for educational purposes.
No question.
Yeah. That is so admirable, man. And the thing is that I feel as if because you didn't have to do that.
No.
You didn't really, I mean, morally,
but you're raised a certain way.
Right.
Too much is given, much is expected.
Yes, sir.
And you have to be conscious of that. And we definitely were, because we were proud of our parents.
Right.
And again, I wanted to go to Jackson High School, Andrew Jackson High School. It was a neighborhood school up in St. Albans.
Okay.
That's where all my friends were going. My mother had us shipped out to freaking Christ the King and damn near in Brooklyn to take the bus 45 minutes to get there. And it was nothing but white kids.
Yeah.
And it was boys on one side, girls on the other side. Come on.
Yeah, but she knew it was best for the kids.
And that's
really
the best thing you can say.
Right.
Mom knew if we went to Jackson, we might have been a little wilder than
Your story might have been very different. We're gonna stop there, and we'll be right back after this. And we're back here on Sessions Cafe with Harold A. Dow. So now you've utilized a lot of different iconic New York City venues, you and your twin brother, in doing your events. I want to name a couple, and for the benefit of those who are watching that don't live in New York City, explain the significance of these particular locations. So the USS Intrepid, first and foremost.
You take the big one first.
Yes. How did you, first of all, explain to those who don't live here and who may not be familiar what the USS Intrepid is, and then how you was able to utilize it for such a fantastic series of events.
It's an aircraft carrier that was bought by a gentleman here in New York, and he reconditioned it and had it docked there for maybe 3 or 4 years before we decided that it would be interesting if we could pull an event off, because we were always about venues.
Right, doing different
different.
Now, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the Intrepid is now permanently docked on the Hudson River on the west side of Manhattan. But when you And it's a museum.
Yes.
But it wasn't a museum.
It was a museum then.
It was a museum then? Okay, okay.
And it had all the artifacts of World War II. A lot of servicemen that were there visited the ship.
Okay.
But what we did was, how we got it was my agent, who was Jewish at that point, we told him, I said, is it possible for us to do an event on the aircraft carrier? He says, you all are crazy.
Right.
I said, yeah, well, he said, well, I know the manager over there. You want to do it? It's up to you.
Right.
And what we did was we pulled together a little partnership of Harold Stansel, Bob Bell, and a gentleman out of Philly, Fred. And we threw it together. And for 2,500 people, we would have on there every year. And we didn't use any radio. It was a private party.
Yeah, it was a private party, yeah. Okay,
Because
wow.
again, we had one security person on the ship.
Right.
But this was such an incredible event to do. People look forward to it all summer because we always did it in late August. We started in July, and then it was too hot in July to do because that's a metal ship.
Right.
And so we decided to do it late August, and where it cooled off in the evenings. And the radio stations thought we were going to spend a lot of money advertising.
On promos, commercials.
And we said, no, we're not going to do that because guess what? Every DJ was talking about it. How could these guys be pulling this off?
Right.
And they were talking up. But that just was enough coverage that we needed because we wanted to keep it private.
Right.
Because this way we can control who was coming on. We didn't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry to be on the ship because we didn't know them. Right. When you're dealing with 2,500 people, you want to make sure you have your folks there. And,
of course.
And it became the event to go to.
Fantastic. I can imagine. Well, I can't imagine. But that must have been what was it, before we go into some of the other venues though, Studio 54, the South Street Seaport, and of course, the legendary Palladium here in New York City. I want to ask you this too. You and your brother, like, how was it difficult working with your twin?
No. Your twin is your brother.
Okay.
That's who you trust.
Okay.
My brother.
Well, I don't know. I don't have one, so I don't.
My brother and I, we worked well together.
Okay.
He was the yin to my yang.
Yeah.
You know, he was the person that was out front shaking hands and kissing babies.
Okay.
I was the one in the background creating events and taking care of the money.
Wow. So you definitely complimented
each other. And I didn't want to do what he did, and he didn't want to do what I did. So it was a great partnership, and we didn't really argue. I mean, we were good, close twins.
You all were best friends. And
yes,
brothers.
we were best friends and trusted best friends. When we wanted to buy something, we put our heads together, and even a house. You know, that was an easy thing to do because he says, "Okay, you take the money. You give me an allowance," and it was because. He says, I spend too much money.
And he trusted you.
And he trusted. And I took care of business.
Now, of the other venues, obviously we talked about the Intrepid. Studio 54, legendary. Everybody's been there from Michael Jackson to Mick Jagger. South Street Seaport and the Palladium. Of those three, we're going to just take those three legendary locations. What was the most successful party that you did here in New York at those specific spots?
Well, Studio 54, Palladium, we only did one or two events there.
Okay.
Okay. The Copacabana was the big club that we did a lot of.
Oh, okay.
The Copa,
a song is made about that place. That's legendary.
You know, they changed venues. They went from 57th Street to 34th Street, right across from the Javits Center, John Giuliano too. He redid the whole place and moved it up there. Then the city took it away from him to put the subway system up there, right there on 34th and 11th. But that was one of our hot spots. And he was very generous with us as far as he always wanted us to be the ones to open up any of his new clubs.
Wow.
Because he dealt with the Latin market.
Right.
And we were the only black organization that he allowed to be part of that opening week.
Got you.
And we served soup to nuts. It was beautiful. The other venues, again, variety is the spice of life, as I always say. And, black folks don't want to go to the same place all the time.
Right. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, Leviticus was fine for 13 years. Othello and Justine's was good. But after a while, it was the same old, same old. So as soon as we closed down those two places, we went berserk, going to every place we could think of all over New York, some of the exclusive clubs. And it just made it fun because people had a chance to see what was happening. Right. The problem today is, this is New York City, it never sleeps. Really? Where are you going?
Right.
All you have is small lounges to go to
right.
now. You don't have any big venues to go to and have some fun
and
meet some nice people, whether it's men or women. Come on.
I was going to talk to you about that. Like, how do you think that the landscape has changed for
because there's no clubs.
Right. Well, I blame it on the internet. A lot of people, the culture of the society that we live in now is that people want to be a little bit more into themselves and a lot less social.
Well, the cell phone makes it very impersonal.
Right.
Back in our days, you met your significant other face to face.
Face to face.
And you got a sense of what if she liked you or she didn't like you.
Right.
You know, that whole thing is gone.
Right. Yeah.
And you have no clubs. This is New York. We don't have any big clubs to go to in New York. These young people, again, where are they socializing? In lounges where you're buying a bottle for the whole table, they have to drink the same thing. Right. You know, it's horrible.
It's different, very different, and not in a good way. On a somber moment, Harold, in 2005, your brother, who we have been talking about as if he's still with us.
He is.
Well, he is, just not in the physical realm. He passed away in 2005. If you don't mind sharing with me what happened and how did that affect?
We were having an affair at the Copacabana on 34th Street and 11th Avenue, and he got sick. And he was taken out and taken downtown to St. Vincent's Hospital. Very aggravated. He didn't want to stay there, you know, and Norman was never
at the hospital.
At the hospital. His doctor had to come in from New Jersey and calm him down because he just was having a situation, and the situation ended up being an aorta situation.
Which he obviously didn't know what was happening.
He did not know what was happening.
Yeah.
And when he came home, 2 days later, he went out, and he always went in the mornings and get my mother coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. And he came back and he sideswiped the car, took the mirror off, and left a note on the car to say, you know, we live right down the block, you know, come and see my brother, he'll take care of it. And as he passed away 2 days later in the house, and I'm just like, you know, he went upstairs, he was a little lackadaisical, but when I woke up, I had an event to do with WWRL at Rochdale Auditorium that morning in Queens. And when I woke up, and we just happened to be spending the night at my mother's house because we lived in Jersey at that point. And when I woke up, I went to look over to him, and I couldn't believe how still he was. And I went to touch him, and he was ice cold, hugging his pillow.
Sleep.
Passed away in his sleep. And it was devastating because my mother's in the next room. Now you have to tell her. His girlfriend's coming in the following day to check on him from Miami. You know, it was just a terrible situation. But, you know, he lived a fun, enjoyable, he made a lot of people happy because
he was. How
he
old were the two of you?
We're 54.
When he passed away?
54 years old. And he enjoyed life. You know, he always, like I tell people all the time, I don't have one picture, and we have thousands of pictures. I don't have one picture of him not smiling. He was that type. Now, that could never be me because, you know, but, you know, miss him every day, you know, and
there's got to be 54 years with somebody that close to you, of course, there's got to be, and I don't know what you're feeling because I don't have a twin. I'm 12 years older than my sister, but that void must be to this day. And how long ago has it?
20 years.
20 years.
20 years is past November.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't get any easier.
Doesn't get, and you know, this is probably the first time I've let somebody talk to me about that situation, because my voice just leaves me when I talk about him, because it's even 20 years later, it's so emotional.
Of course.
And you know, the love is there. You know, he stood around like a old grandmother told me, oh, your brother's not leaving you by yourself. He's going to stick around and make sure that you're all right.
Right.
And he showed up at a couple of paces, and you'll read that in the book, that, you know, he just stayed around until he thought we were cool.
Now let me ask you this: referring to the book that you wrote.
It talks about.
I'm sorry, I'm feeling your
It talks about how we grew up, how we marketed the events, and it gives you kind of an insight to what we were thinking and how we went through college and took our college friends and brought them into their work life, and we stayed with them the whole time, and that was why we were so successful.
And the book was published after he left us.
Yeah, it was published 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I know it's got to be like a symbolic.
It was a responsibility that I thought I needed to do before I left this earth.
Yeah,
because we had influenced so many people. We put so many people together through friendship, marriage, and everything else, that I had to put it in writing. Because again, if you don't write your story, nobody's going to know.
That's right.
And this is, I've gotten so many requests just to be interviewed and talked about the book, because we touched people with the black skiers all over the country. We were big skiers.
Right.
And when they had their conferences, we would do some of their conferences, and they would have 5,000 people, 5,000 black people skiing.
Now, the book is called The Dow Twins, Bringing People Together. How can people get the book? Because we have about a minute before we have to roll out.
Well, it's on Amazon, and all you have to punch in is Dow Twins.
Okay.
And it's listed at $21. And, you know, if you want an autographed copy, you can always just call me at dowtwins at Yahoo. Text me at dowtwins at Yahoo, and I'll send you a personal copy.
I want to say, man, it was such an honor to have both of you. You here in the physical, and your brother certainly in spirit here in the studio on the show, man. You're definitely a legend, one half of a legend, a legendary component, and it's more than an honor to have you on the show.
Well, it was a pleasure.
I just want to thank you
to
so
be
much.
on your show,
Thank you for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having a great show.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys next week.